Lawyers of Reddit, what's the stupidest case you've been asked to take on, and did you? I'm a prosecutor, so I don't get hired to represent anyone. I work for the government. But I do have discretion over how the prosecution progresses, deciding to proceed, deciding what to offer in the event of a plea bargain, deciding to withdraw the charges, etc. I had a case a few months ago where a man was charged with shoplifting. Turned out he was 70 years old, had absolutely no criminal record, and had shoplifted a sandwich which he ate politely in the store. He honestly thought he had paid for it. I was so angry that he was ever charged in the first place. When I saw him in court, he was absolutely terrified. I withdrew the charges and wished him well. I have no idea how it progressed that far. Something kind of similar happened to my late uncle. He was in his late 70s and loved going to the grocery store and just buying a ton of random new foods to cook. One day, he was accused of putting a pickle in his pocket and trying to walk out with it. They actually had loss prevention deal with him and empty his pockets and stuff. He didn't steal a pickle. I can just imagine how frightened he was when he saw the security talking to him. I had a client come in saying that he needed to sue Stu for robbing all his checks. When I asked him if Stu had a last name, he said no. When I asked him if he knew any Stu, he said no. When I asked him what proof he had that Stu was robbing him, he showed me all of his pay stubs. They were clear, monthly deductions by the SCU. As soon as I saw it, I knew. I asked, "Do you have any children?" He said yes. I then told him, "Your Stu is the SCU, the Support Collection Unit. They take money out of your paycheck to pay for your child." He left the office insisting that we needed to find Stu. When I was in law school, I did a criminal defense clinic where we help a public defender. I say help because they just give you small cases to do by yourself. I had a guy accused of shoplifting a yellow FUBU shirt. Guess what he wore to the trial? A GD yellow FUBU shirt. I asked the professor to re-offer the plea deal. She did, and I convinced the guy to take community service and probation, if I remember correctly. Our public defender system is tragically overworked and underfunded. I was working in a law firm and got a call from reception advising that someone had arrived needing some intellectual property advice. I arrived at reception to find a clearly disturbed woman with a persistent facial twitch and a small wheeled suitcase. I took her to the conference room to discuss, making sure I kept a good line of sight to reception. She put the suitcase on the table and opened it to reveal a stack of thousands of handwritten pages and one half of a pair of scissors, so I guess a scissor. She explained that she had written a manuscript about how the City Council gave her schizophrenia and hepatitis, aliens stole her pets, and that it was all part of a bigger conspiracy involving the army and the Illuminati. She was worried that our local newspaper was going to steal her thoughts and publish her manuscript without her consent, and wanted to register the copyright in her manuscript. We then had a perfectly rational and reasonable discussion about copyright laws. I explained that in our jurisdiction she didn't need to register it and that she had rights as an author automatic on creation of her work. I told her the most useful thing she should do is ensure she had evidence of her creative work and that she had sent a digital copy to herself and a friend, and also leave a copy with a friend. That way, if it was published without her consent, she could prove it was her work. We spoke for nearly an hour. She thanked me and then left. She got free legal advice and I didn't get stabbed with the scissor. I hope she found the help she needs. I had a teacher that worked for a major video game publisher, one of the top 10 ones. He told me that when people tried to sue them for small amounts of money due to the game being bad, they would just pay whatever the person wanted. It was cheaper than dealing with the country's terrible justice system. Except one day, a guy sued them because the game was bad. He was a law student, self-representing, and tried to throw the book at the company. They decided to make an exception for this guy. They instead threw the book back at him. The lawsuit kept escalating until both sides wasted lots of time and money. Then, as a final stroke, they offered to settle in front of a judge. There, in front of the judge, they put the price of the game on the table in cash, and then told the guy to just take it and stop bothering them. The judge thought it was very fair and told the guy that if he refused that settlement, he would be fined. The guy was very unhappy. He spent like $5 grand on expenses just to get $60. Not a lawyer yet, but this happened while I was doing my first summer internship. I worked at a law library in county lockup. There were plenty of interesting stories. One I had already posted, but I figured I would share another. I also have no privilege issues. An inmate was charged with felon in possession and was coming down almost weekly to do research. He was basically looking for a way to get rid of a Walmart receipt and video which indicated that he had purchased a box of bullets, giving officers cause to search and find the weapon. One day, he brings in one of the law books he purchased and had reviewed. He pointed to the section that discussed reasonable expectation of privacy and argued that the officers had not asked his permission to view the video and thus had invaded his privacy. I pointed to the parts of the book that explained reasonable expectations. Still wasn't getting it. Finally, I asked who owned the video. Walmart. Then wouldn't it be their decision? But it's me in the video. Whose video is it? Rent and repeat for about 5 minutes before he finally huffed off. I worked as a receptionist at a small personal injury firm and was the first line of defense against the more outlandish cases. One of the most ridiculous calls I took involved a woman wanting to sue her cat's vet for malpractice because her cat scratched her, which in turn supposedly caused her liver to fail and a slew of other health problems to arise. She believed the vet was at fault because she was convinced the cat was carrying some obscure disease and the vet had failed to catch it. It was my second day on the job, so I put her through to the attorney, not yet knowing what else to do with such a ridiculous situation. She got a firm "sorry, can't help ya" from our office, in part because we did not do malpractice, vets or otherwise, but also because she sounded like a one-way ticket to Crazy Town. Edit. As some have pointed out, the woman may have actually had cat scratch fever, which could in theory lead to a legitimate claim. However, when she called, she presented it as, "I got sick and then someone told me it was from my cat. My vet never told me my cat was sick. Can I sue him for malpractice?" And apparently vets do not regularly test cats for scratch fever unless you bring your cat in for certain symptoms. This was clearly an "I see a chance for a cash payout" situation. And we would get calls like this all the time with both bizarre and banal stories behind them. Either way, she would have needed someone more specialized than the firm I worked for, which primarily handled car accidents and zero cats. Hi, before the video ends, I just want to leave a quick note. I got a new microphone, so you may notice that the quality is better on the audio. And also don't forget to leave a like and a comment. You may notice some stuttering on the video, or you may notice my accent. I'm from Europe, so English is not my first language. I hope it doesn't disturb the video that much. Alright, thank you for watching. Bye.